what I'm going to do here is to exercise Selenium both from the IDE and from a script, and in this case a Python script. So what I have here, you can see, is a terminal window on my desktop, and there's basically two scripts that I'm going to exercise. One, OL cell test, is OpinionLab's browser being exercised in Selenium's IDE, and then pretty much the same thing, OpinionLab's browser exercised in Selenium in a Python script. So what I'll do is I'll do the browser being exercised in the Selenium IDE first. So you can see, doesn't really matter where you start because I'm going to tell it where to go once I start, and which I've already done. So what I'm going to do is in Firefox, my browser of choice, I'm going to open up in the Tools menu the Selenium IDE, and that's going to bring up the Selenium IDE. Usually when you do something like this, when you're going to do something in the Selenium IDE, it's always going to help and be more expeditious to have two monitors connected, or at least a large monitor that you can put both the Selenium IDE and the browser and see what they're both doing, and I'll show you why in a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm in the Selenium IDE. I'm going to open that OL cell test that I just showed you, and so here it is here, and right underneath is the Python one, and you see that the Mac OS X is smart enough to know that it's a Python script from the extension py, and the only thing it knows with the OL cell test is that it's a document, and in fact it's an XML document. So I'm going to open that up, and you see what I've done is on the left of the IDE, here's the test case, OL cell test, and then here are all the commands which I've written. Okay, and I can control the speed at which the commands are executed from fast to slow, and it's usually better to use a slower speed because a lot of times Selenium will have issues if the page hasn't loaded before it's trying to go somewhere that it needs the location from the page, you'll get an error. And there's other instances where you can get errors, and I'll demonstrate that right now. So I'll leave the speed as fast, and I'll go ahead and I'll do a screenshot on fail. You can see all I have to do is click that icon. So basically turn on the ability to do a screenshot on fail, which is certainly a good debugging QA facility to have. And then you can see I've changed the speed from slow to fast because I don't want to sit here all day waiting for it. And then what I'll do is I'll play the current test case. Okay, so I started. You can see the yellow line is what's about to execute, and then the green is what has executed. As I go through, let me bring up the browser. Again, this is obviously why it's good to have two monitors, or a monitor that's large enough that you see them both at the same time. Unfortunately, I have a MacBook which doesn't give me that ability. Okay, and you can see it's going from tab to tab. So first it did the solutions, then it did the services, and you see that it's highlighted over here which one it's at. Another thing I'll point out is that again, due to the constraints of the monitor, the whole web page isn't going to fit, and it's certainly scrollable, but you're not going to be able to view the whole web page. Especially for testing purposes, that is a good thing to have, and I'll show you how you can get around that issue in a little bit. Okay, now here's the error, and I knew this error was going to happen because Firefox is preventing any pop-up windows. And when I go from under company from partners to careers, I'm going to try to open up the career page in a pop-up, and sure enough Firefox gives me an error. And if I go back to the IDE, there it is highlighted in red, and it said unexpected exception filing. So that's the actual exception, but here's the error that you're concerned about. The page obviously is specifying _blank, which is going to have that specific link, the careers link, open up in a separate page from the main page, and it's not supported because I have it coded that way, or I have it set that way in my browser, which is Firefox. Okay, now remember that I did the screenshot on fail. So if I go to my home directory, and in your home directory, and all this is set in Firefox add-ons, and there's logging add-ons and add-ons that do the screenshot on fail, and it tells you where that screenshot will be stored. And here it is in my home directory. The directory stores it in as screenshot on fail, and here it stores them all, creates directories with a timestamp. So the one that we just did was at 7:04 a.m. and if we open it, sure enough, there's a ping with the error, and there it is, exactly what you expect. And again, I'll talk about this in a little bit. When you do a ping, a screenshot, it's always going to capture the entire web page, whereas if you remember the real one, you're constricted by the size of your screen, but you can do the scroll bar. So here it is, and again, you can obviously you can make it larger, but I mean, you'll see that the issue was when it on the company bar of the website, when it tried to go from partners to careers, which is exactly what we see here. It tried to open up a pop-up web page, which isn't allowed in Firefox. Obviously, you can change your preferences. Another thing I'll point out, that it keeps a detailed log, and you can turn the logging up to, you know, I think there's 3 levels, and obviously debug is the best level with the most detail, and it stores it in a file. And again, you can specify where that file is in Firefox add-ons. Okay, so I have that screen grab, and so now what I can do is I can change my preferences to create an exception, which will allow OpinionLab to do pop-ups. So here you can see that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, now, and just for fun, I'll start back at Google, and what I'll do is I'll start over. So once it fails, it's not going to keep going, it's going to stop. So even though I only made it, you know, to the careers link, still there's a lot of the script to keep going, but it stops. So what I can do is I can start it over, and now I'm going to allow pop-ups, and I'll adjust the speed somewhere in the middle, so we don't have to sit here all day. Okay, play current test case. And you can see it's starting over. Again, the yellow line is the one that's being executed, and then in green is either a success, or in red is a failure. Okay, and so you can see it's going incrementally through the script, and you can see the commands, targets, and values is the way the Selenium IDE API is configured. And again, we can go back to the web page and see it changing based on where we're navigating to. So we're now at services, going through analysis and reporting. Then we're going to go to company and do the 6 links there from history to events. Okay, and this time I let the pop-up go, so I configured it in Firefox, so lo and behold, there's my pop-up. Okay, and it's still going on the main page. We're up to resources, case studies, white papers, and webinars and podcasts. Then we're going to go to news. And then to contact, and there's some links on this page that you certainly can exercise if you want to. And then the blog, which again is opened up on a separate page. Okay, and now we'll go back to our IDE, which is back here somewhere, right here. And you can see that now, even though the blog is specified _blank, making the page bring up another page, it shows up in red, but it's a warning instead of an error, and that's basically the last step. So if it wasn't, it would keep going, but since it is, it's done. Okay, and again, you see everything's in green, and the log, since we didn't clear the log, you can see the old errors are still in here from the previous run, errors and warnings. Okay, so we'll shut that. And now we'll go back to the same functionality, which is exercising the OpinionLab webpage, but this time with the Python script. And again, it's basically doing the same thing. There's only one thing slightly different it's doing, and I'll show you what that is in just a second. Okay, but here's the script, and so since it's a script, it needs to be executed with Python in a bash terminal, or some kind of a C shell terminal, some kind of a terminal window, or Windows, whatever. But you can see here it is right here. Okay, and so I'll just tell you that it's 100 lines, 102 lines. So it's not a long script, but again, it was handcrafted. So to execute it, all I need to do is Python and then the script. And what's going to happen, as you'll see in a second, it's going to open up a separate browser. And in this case, you specify the browser, and in this case I've specified Firefox, but you can do Explorer or any other browser that's supported with Selenium. The only thing, as far as the IDE goes, Selenium IDE goes, which we just went through, the only browser that's that's supported with the Selenium IDE is Firefox. So in other words, if you load Selenium onto Explorer, it's not going to give you the ability to bring up an IDE like it does in Firefox. But what it will let you do is run a script, a Python, a Java, PHP, Ruby, whatever kind of script you want to in using Explorer or an Apple browser or whatever other browser is supported, depending on if you're using a Linux, a Windows, a Mac, or whatever kind of machine you're using. Okay, so I'm going to execute the Python script. Right away, you'll see, here we go, the Firefox browser is coming up. And another thing I've specified is full screen, and that's with a method in Selenium. Okay, and again, same thing. You know, you're constricted by the size of your monitor, so you can't see the whole thing. But same as the IDE, because it's basically the same script, except it's a Python script. So it can be run in a batch mode or whatever kind of mode you want. And it's going through, exercising all the tabs and the links on the tabs, running out of battery power. See up at the top there, I just plugged in my charger so it doesn't die in the middle. And once again, I'm going through the tabs: Solutions, Services, Company, Resources, News, Contact, and Blog, and exercising all the links. Again, there was Careers. Now in this case, I did not bring up the Careers link in a separate window, and that's perfectly controllable, but I brought it up in the same window, the same browser window that everything else is executing on. So you can see, even though there's methods to control the speed, I'm letting it go at a reasonably expeditious speed. Okay, and there was the contact form, which you can go ahead and fill out. There's the blog. And I think the last thing I did was close the whole browser. There you did. There you saw it. The browser closed, and so my test is over with. And again, what I did was, for every screen that I visited, I created a screenshot. So, and as I explained before, what I did was I numbered them. So they're numbered from 1 to, I think there's 27. And because I have an extremely busy desktop, what Mac does is it stacks them all. It fits what it can on the desktop, or what it thinks it can, and then stacks everything else. And you can specify a directory if you want to put them in a directory. Wherever you want to put them. Okay, so I have all the screenshots on my desktop, and what I was going to show you is basically the same thing I showed you previously, that when you look at a page, and again we'll go to the home page, you can see that because of my monitor, because I'm on a MacBook, it's a small monitor, that I can't fit the whole page onto the monitor real estate. So it's still there, but I have to scroll. And again, if you look at the screen grab for that, it should be the first one. So here it is right here. Again, you know, it shows the whole thing. So, and you can zoom in. Of course, if you zoom in, it's going to look the same way as it does on Firefox. It's not all going to fit because of the constraints of my monitor. Okay, and so now what I did was I went through the OpinionLab Selenium tests with the IDE and with Python. Basically the same thing. The only difference is on the Python script I took screen grabs at every web page. On the IDE I just took screen grabs when it failed. So obviously a good regression and even unit testing tool.